What's up, y'all? Logan here. As an avid collector and strategic investor myself, I am so stoked to announce the launch of Liquid Marketplace, a platform where collectors can buy and sell fractions of rare collectibles via tokens on the blockchain. As a co-founder of Liquid Marketplace, I believe we're set to level the playing field by allowing anyone to own a piece of the world's rarest collectibles and build their portfolio.
After this latest twist in the Logan Paul Pokémon mess, it really makes you stop and think about how wild this whole situation has become. What started as a flashy collector flex slowly spiraled into something way more complicated and honestly unsettling. If you have not been following closely, here is exactly why people are upset and why this controversy just keeps growing louder. Logan Paul owns one of the rarest Pokemon cards ever created, the Pikachu Illustrator card graded PSA 10. It is seen as the holy grail of Pokemon collecting, with only one known copy at that grade and an estimated value now pushed past $10 million. Instead of holding the card as a pure collector piece, Logan decided to flip it into a business play. He co-founded Liquid Marketplace, a platform that let fans buy fractional ownership of high-value collectibles. In simple terms, people were not buying the card itself, they were buying shares tied to it. Through this platform, more than $2.5 million in shares connected to that single card were sold, representing over half of the card's ownership on paper. The pitch was that investors would collectively own the card and have a say in whether it would be sold or held long-term. Logan even promoted this idea on primetime television, openly suggesting that this type of investment could outperform traditional stocks and mainstream options. That is when things started to go sideways. Liquid Marketplace soon ran into serious operational problems. Users reported they could not withdraw money, sell shares, or access funds they believed they owned. During this same period, Logan quietly bought back the card without a public vote or investor approval, while users remained locked out. That move left investors stuck holding shares tied to a card they no longer had control over. Logan later went on to resell the card for over $10 million, while questions kept piling up. And this was not the end of the drama. Many collectors say Logan's short time in the Pokemon space caused lasting damage and deep mistrust across the community.
CoffeeZilla is not a criminal. I called him, I apologize. Step 2, we want to offer a rewards program for players who are disappointed in the status of the game. So essentially you're gonna be able to burn your base egg or your base animal for the mint price, which was 0.1 ETH or the equivalent in BNB. I am personally committing 1,000 ETH to this, which is about $1.3 million. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize for how this has unfolded thus far, and I want people to know that they can trust me and that I'll always take care of the fans and people who support me. And lastly, thank you, CoffeeZilla. You have catalyzed this, and I am very grateful for your work and your investigation.
Next, we need to talk about the so-called PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator card Logan currently claims to own. According to multiple longtime collectors and Pokemon card experts, the condition of the card does not appear to match a flawless PSA 10 standard. For years, Logan has promoted this card as a perfect, museum-quality PSA 10, the only one in the world in pristine condition. For context, a PSA 10 is the highest grading standard issued by Professional Sports Authenticator. That means sharp corners, clean edges, perfect surface, full gloss, and zero visible flaws. The difference between a PSA 9 and a PSA 10 can mean millions of dollars, so accuracy matters big time. That is why things got heated when close-up images of the back of Logan's card started circulating online. Viewers noticed visible marks, scratches, and edge wear. Critics questioned how those flaws could exist on a card that supposedly meets the highest grading standard. Some defenders argued the damage might be on the protective case rather than the card itself, especially since Logan often wears it on a chain while moving around. That explanation did not convince everyone. Others pointed out whitening along the edges that looked consistent with actual card wear, not plastic scuffs. Adding to the skepticism, Logan's social media comments remained turned off, cutting off public discussion and only fueling more speculation. Things escalated further when a Pokemon community figure known as Rattle Pokemon shared images reportedly taken by a previous owner of the same Pikachu Illustrator card. Those images appeared to show the card graded lower in the past, raising serious questions about how it was later presented as a PSA 10 while being tied to investor promotions on Liquid Marketplace.
I think the deal needs to be sweet. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, since I know that you want cash now, what if you can walk out of here with a check for $1.5 million?
Okay. me walking out of here with essentially would be an advance.
Yes.
Is appetizing. This particular piece means a lot to me. The 1.5 is nice, but we know his card's going to sell for 1.5.
Of course it's going to go for more, yes.
So it may need to be a little higher.
What would make you happy walking out of here late with?
Today, right now.
Right now.
You will write the check right now.
Yes.
Got an expensive wedding. 3 million?
3 million, I'll tell you what I can do and I can justify, write your check right now for $2.5 million. In fact,
This guy's crazy.
2.5 mil.
You have a deal? You are a crazy person.
I've been told that before.
I have to say, my heart tells me to do this deal with you, and so I will do the deal with you.
Great. Great.
Now give me that.
More images began circulating online showing the card in questionable environments. In one photo, the card appeared laid out near a greasy pizza box, a vacuum cleaner, and a half-finished protein shake with someone wearing a gaming headset nearby. People joked that the card looked like it was being trained to bulk up into a PSA 10, but the jokes quickly turned into serious concern. These images mattered because they reinforced claims that the card had previously been graded as a PSA 9. Rattle Pokémon shared additional context, explaining that the card had a documented grading history that did not line up with the flawless image later used to promote it. According to this information, the card had been graded a 9 multiple times before eventually receiving a 10 under very different grading conditions. Back then, PSA did not place much value on Pokémon cards. Submissions were cheap, grading standards were inconsistent, and collectors often resubmitted the same card repeatedly hoping for a higher grade. That environment created opportunities for cards to slip into higher grades without major physical changes. According to discussions in the replies, Logan's card was reportedly graded a 9 several times before finally being bumped up to a 10 and sold as such. Another collector shared images of what a verified PSA 10 Pikachu illustrator looks like when zoomed in. That card showed clean edges, zero whitening, no scratches, and flawless surface quality. When people compared that verified example to Logan's card, the differences were obvious. Even experts pointed out that a PSA 10 leaves no room for wear. It has to look untouched, preserved, and flawless. To maintain that level, a card usually sits untouched in a vault for years until the moment it is sold. That is standard collector behavior. Logan, on the other hand, treated the card very differently. He wore it on a massive chain at public events, including WWE appearances, walking around with it constantly, even sealed in a protective case. That kind of movement causes vibration and stress over time, slowly wearing edges and surfaces. In one of his own vlogs, Logan admitted the card was damaged while on display. He posted an angry reaction video after learning someone mishandled it during Fanatics Fest. That admission alone raised eyebrows, especially considering the card was described as a one-of-one PSA 10 valued at over $5 million. Before digging deeper into investor losses, it is important to remember this was not Logan's first major Pokémon controversy. In December 2021, he announced he had purchased a sealed first edition Pokémon base set booster box case for around $3.5 million. The box was later revealed to contain G.I. Joe cards instead of Pokémon packs. Some people laughed it off, but many collectors were not amused at all. A large number of experienced collectors believe the situation was exaggerated or staged for attention.
Place an irrevocable bid on the illustrator. Let me explain what that means. Ahead of the auction, someone will agree to put a pre-placed bid on the card. So if it doesn't hit that number, it gets sold to them at that number. If it goes above the number that they put, take the final sale price and their number, that difference, they get 10% of. So it's a way for someone to, it's almost like a business move. Someone did this with a fucking Birkin bag. He put a $3 million irrevocable bid on a Birkin bag. The Birkin sold for 10 million. The difference between 3 million and 10 million is 7 million. He got 10% of 7 million. So he made 700K in a night by doing nothing, other than giving the confidence that it was gonna go above 3 million. Someone apparently wants to put a $5 million irrevocable bid on the illustrator, which I just don't. I think it's too low, so I said no. It's cool though, it's cool because like people obviously have confidence in the car.
When people dug into the details, red flags popped up fast. The box appeared on the Canadian version of eBay in March 2021. Listed by a seller with almost no feedback and a recently changed username. The listing had grammar errors and no legitimate history or proof of origin. Veteran collectors immediately flagged it as suspicious. High-end Pokemon items of that level are usually sold through trusted brokers or major auction houses, not unknown eBay sellers with no track record. The seller gave multiple conflicting stories about where the box came from. One time it was from an elderly woman, another time it was a childhood gift, and later it was found in an attic. None of the stories matched, and none came with proof. Despite that, massive bids still rolled in. When Logan announced he bought the box for $3.5 million, the Pokemon community reacted with disbelief. Collectors, graders, and longtime experts all said the same thing. The box looked fake or heavily tampered with. When it was finally opened and revealed to contain G.I. Joe cards, Logan received a refund. Still, skeptics pointed out this was not his first dramatic reveal involving Pokemon cards. In the past, Logan had staged reactions to fake cards, including destroying a display while acting shocked on camera, and that history is why many collectors say the trust damage runs deep. Because of that history, many people believe Logan understood exactly how viral outrage works, and how to turn attention into leverage. Critics argue that the so-called $3.5 million price tag may never have been fully paid, and instead worked as a headline number designed to grab clicks and shock the internet. The theory is that attaching a massive valuation made it easier to later promote the box through fractional ownership platforms like Liquid Marketplace, following the same pattern used with the Pikachu Illustrator card, where hype came first and clarity came last. And it did not stop there. Around the same period, Logan pulled a PSA 10 First Edition Charizard and announced plans to auction it publicly, tweeting about the sale while also directing attention to a betting platform called Polymarket.
If you know how much you're going to bid on it, if you want to create a new record sale for something, you're going to make some of your money back because you can just gamble on it. It is the most crooked, nonsensical shit, and it needs to be regulated. It's terrible. How about a nice little $105,000 discount on your purchase if you gamble on something that you're bidding on that you can control whether it goes over or under 700K. That in itself is bad. If enough people are on here, that number can increase. If you have something that sells for 700K and you're getting 100K off and you're getting a percentage from the sale itself, that's a fake comp. This is just bad. And then we have the same thing for the Illustrator in terms of manipulation. And that's not to mention the fact that there can be insider trading, insider information in terms of like, oh, I'm gonna bid over 700K. So anyone can bid on that. Now, whether or not you'd want to do that and skew your odds,
Users were encouraged to place wagers on whether the card would sell above certain price levels, like $500,000 or $700,000, blurring the line between collecting, speculation, and entertainment. Almost immediately, critics raised concerns that Logan himself could place a bet predicting the card would clear a certain price, then influence the outcome by bidding on his own auction. The theory was simple and unsettling. He could place a bet that the card would sell above $700,000, then bid slightly above that number himself, triggering the payout before stepping away and letting another buyer finish the sale. While this remains an allegation, many collectors argue it creates a serious ethical problem where promotion, betting, and auction results all benefit the same person. On top of that, critics point out that Logan reportedly earns a percentage from the sale itself, creating even more incentive to push prices higher. To longtime collectors, it looks like a closed loop where attention, hype, betting, and auctions all feed into each other. Some also push back hard on the idea of Logan provenance being marketed as added value, arguing that celebrity ownership does not automatically raise a card's worth and can sometimes hurt it. Others reference past grading controversies tied to Logan, including a first edition Charizard that reportedly failed cross-grading before later surfacing with a BGS 10 label, a jump that raised eyebrows across the community and added to concerns about transparency. All of this brings the focus back to Liquid Marketplace, a platform Logan co-founded around 2020 and one many viewers already recognized from earlier coverage. One of its headline listings was his PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator card, valued at roughly $5 million. Fans and investors purchased around $2.5 million worth of shares, giving the public majority ownership on paper and collective decision-making power over the card's future. What stopped people cold was a tweet where Logan stated he bought the card back from Liquid Marketplace for roughly $250,000, a fraction of the value tied to the shares that had already been sold. According to critics, this meant Logan regained control of the card while investors were still unable to access their money, as users reported frozen withdrawals and locked funds.
Look at the shady terms of the platform. And then we may allow users to purchase all of the tokens associated with a certain collectible without the other token holders associated with that collectible executing a sale. Is this what happened? So the scammers on the platform. So did Logan get permission from the scammers? He's not a scammer, but the scammers on the platform gave him permission to buy out the item. Does that make him a scammer too? And then down below at the bottom, it says you understand and agree that where enabled on the platform in our sole discretion, buyouts may allow your tokens to be purchased from you by another user at the price determined by the buyout premium, and that such buyouts may occur without you executing a sale. So they went from, we're going to auction it off, and then I guess they would have to pretend that there was more people, invested into the item itself than there actually was. But then I guess we got filings coming up here. Let's just do the emergency buyout. Fractional ownership and stuff is dumb. Calling it liquid marketplace is dumb because it was the most illiquid thing you could possibly put your money into, because you could never get your money out.
Not long after, Liquid Marketplace quietly shut down, leaving millions of dollars effectively trapped with no clear resolution for users who believed they owned real shares. Throughout this period, Rattle Pokémon and others continued breaking down the fine print, highlighting terms many users may not have fully understood. Investors believed they were buying real ownership, sharing profits, and gaining voting rights. But critics argue the outcome told a different story. Logan regained the asset, the platform closed, and users were left without transparency or payouts, raising serious questions about how the structure was designed and who it truly benefited from the beginning. People also began questioning motivation. Logan is already wealthy from YouTube, Prime, WWE appearances, sponsorships, and multiple business ventures. Yet controversies like Crypto Zoo and Liquid Marketplace continue to follow him. That pattern has led some fans to ask why additional high-risk ventures aimed at supporters were necessary at all. The accountability question is what really frustrates people. Logan was a co-founder, listed his own card. Fans paid real money believing they were buying ownership, and when the company shut down, the asset returned to him. To everyday investors watching from the outside, it feels like a system where losses landed on the public while control stayed private. That confusion naturally led to questions about oversight, and in June 2024, attention turned to the Ontario Securities Commission, or OSC, the agency responsible for regulating Ontario's capital markets and protecting investors. The OSC launched a formal investigation into Liquid Marketplace, stating there was enough evidence to pursue enforcement action. In its June 19th filing, the commission alleged that senior leadership misused roughly $3 million of investor funds for personal benefit, naming executives Ryan Bahadur, Nick Dale, and Dennis Domer, though Logan Paul himself was not named. The OSC claimed investor funds were diverted through shell companies, interest-free personal loans, and hidden payments, with company money allegedly used for luxury clothing, jewelry, watches, and wellness services. Another major focus was the sale of roughly $2.7 million in tokens tied to the Pikachu Illustrator card. The OSC alleged these tokens were unregistered securities and that buyers were falsely told they represented legal ownership, full authentication, appraisal, and insurance. According to regulators, these claims were misleading, exposed investors to undisclosed risks, and financially benefited Liquid Marketplace and its associates. The commission recommended penalties of up to $1 million per violation and the surrender of any gains obtained, with hopes that recovered funds could eventually compensate investors. For many watching, the frustration is that Logan was not named in the enforcement action, despite publicly calling himself a co-founder in multiple videos that have circulated widely. Logan later stated he intends to make investors whole, but skepticism remains high due to past promises made during the Crypto Zoo controversy that many say were never fully delivered. Each time controversy surfaces, commitments are made, attention fades, and the financial damage remains unresolved, making the pattern harder to ignore. Another criticism gaining traction is inflated pricing. Collectors argue the values attached to Logan's cards are driven more by hype and non-stop promotion than organic demand. From viral stunts to auction hype and betting angles, critics say the card has been treated like a financial instrument rather than a collectible. In one clip, a $3 million bid is placed, and Logan immediately responds that the card is worth far more, a moment that sums up the situation for many observers. As of January 26, 2026, the public bid reportedly sits around $5.1 million, but collectors keep asking the same uncomfortable question. How do we know these bids are real? The lack of transparency around proxy bidding and price inflation has pushed many longtime fans away from the hobby. For them, true collecting is about preservation, history, and respect, not financial engineering and non-stop monetization. From fractional ownership to betting markets to constant auction promotion, critics argue the damage to trust is already done, and the community is still dealing with the fallout. So that brings us to the end of this update on Logan Paul, the Pokémon card controversies, and the lasting impact on the collecting community as a whole. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Drop your comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one.